This is the Speak Easy podcast where we talk about the behind the scenes of being the successful speaker, the paid speaker, and the paid author. Because guess what? There's things that happen behind the scenes that most people don't want to talk about, that most people don't want to discuss. And because we don't discuss it, we're doomed to fall into the same traps and the same stumbling blocks. But guess what? We are here to make sure that you, our studio audience, hears exactly what it is that you need in order for you to move forward. With that being said, I'm your host, Altavis Pelzer, the voice coach, professional speaker, certified life coach, Amazon bestselling author and podcaster. And guys, founder of the World Voice League, where we literally bring speakers together from all over the world. Looking forward to branding that and getting some more engagement with that in 2019. And so I had to beat out my own things when it comes to fear. And so I know some of you may have some of the same things that you've had to deal with as well. With that being said, we have an amazing guest for today. Hey, Ashley.
How are you?
I am doing great. How are you doing today?
I am doing great. I'm happy to be on the show. Thank you for the opportunity.
Definitely. So I'm excited to have you on today. And before we jump into this whole busting up fear episode, I want you to tell them a little bit about yourself, and then we'll dive into today's topic.
Well, I work in corporate by day. By night, I'm an entrepreneur. I'm a best-selling author of Dear Fear, Volume 2, 18 Powerful Lessons of Living Your Best Life Outside of Fear. I also have a book called Hello Queen, and I have a book coming out in January of 2019 titled Girlfriend Code Volume 1. I'm a speaker, Forex trader. I'm co-founder of Sweetheart Scholars nonprofit, as well as co-host of the Tammy Collins Marquee radio show, blogger and media for Black Women Hustle, and board member and blogger for Black Girls Create International.
Awesome. And so let's dive into today's topic, simply because we know that everybody goes into this whole mindset shift. December into January, where
right.
January is it's fresh, it's new. And so we do vision boards and SMART goals, and we're getting ourselves all prepared in order for us to have this phenomenal year. And then knock.
Right.
Knock. Literally, some of those amazing, huge goals that we set for ourselves, fear is knocking at our heartstrings, knocking at our mindset and saying, oh, you think you're doing what now? And so let's talk about, a lot of times, let's go to the core of it first and say, well, where does this fear really come from? When it comes time for us, because we see it a lot in the new year, but where is this fear really coming from? So what would you say is, I guess, the top two places that fear is really stemming from?
Well, my definition of fear is false evidence appearing real. Fear is not real. It's all we tend to let people distract us and worry about what they say. I always say the day people that discourage us. So that's one thing of why people are scared to jump. And then most people are they're not afraid to fail. And you have to be okay with not being afraid to fail. Well, nobody's perfect. You some of them you're going to win and some of them you might not. But the difference is not quitting and it's dusting yourself off and doing it again.
I think that's major, because we kind of get into this habit of, they did this, so now I have to follow suit. They said this, so now I have to live up to. Ooh, that's a big one. I have to live up to their expectations.
Right.
And so, some people would say, well, that really doesn't happen in the speaker realm. That really doesn't happen in the author realm. Yeah, it does.
Yes. Yes.
There is a lot of comparison that goes on when it comes to being the speaker, when it comes to being an author, because you see that, listen, no, not anyone ever has said, I want to publish a book so that way I can keep 500 copies of it in my garage. No one has ever said that.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
They want to sell copies. And so it gets a little discouraging. It gets a little, when you see somebody say, oh, I've sold 1 million copies of my book. And you're like, but I sold 5. I sold 15.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So then what is going to be that number one thing? Now, I know what my number one thing is when it comes to beating out that kind of fear of getting started. But what would you say is your number one thing when it comes to beating out that fear and saying, you know what? I'm not even going to pay it any attention. I'm just going to move forward and get this thing done.
Well, what I would say would be do it afraid, do it scared, do it anyway. So just jump and not be afraid. Like, I don't know what's on the other side until you take the jump. So for anyone that's thinking about starting that business, writing that book, do it. It doesn't have to be perfect. Do it scared. Do it anyway. Just do it. And the people that's going to support you, God will. A lot of us are afraid because, the support. Don't let that scare you. The right people, He will align the right people in your pathway to help you get to those next levels. So do it. Do it scared. Follow your journey because everybody's journey is different.
I was looking at some of the people that are joining us live and saying good morning and good afternoon. But I definitely have to agree with you there. Aligning yourself up with the right people can be an amazing opportunity for you. I know for me, I'm an introvert. And so connecting with the right people is everything for me. It's literally been literally the driving force for me to be able to speak on stages and expand my business and achieve some great things just within the last 2 years. But I think a lot of times people, when they hear that N word, networking, they just immediately think of 500 business cards being thrown at them, or being in a room with a whole bunch of people in suits. And even from the corporate background, it's like, I don't know. I don't know if that's really the way that I want to go with it when it comes to networking. So I know that they kind of miss, those opportunities sometimes simply because they don't understand the scale of what they could possibly do. I know for me, fighting that fear, that number one thing was always keeping my why in front of me. Always looking at my children's faces and saying, you know what, this is for us to be able to do something better. This is for us to build a legacy. This is for you guys to be able to say, and I never tell my children that they have to go to college, but this is for you to have the option without going into debt. This is the option of you traveling the world. This is the option. I think that's one of the biggest things, is having options. If you go ahead and just push through the fear, options open up, opportunities just kind of rain from the heavens. So what have you found?
Yes, it does.
What have you found has been something from you pushing through fear that you've been able to accomplish?
Well, continuing to build those genuine relationships. And you're right, that networking, but also building genuine relationships. And not just building those, but building reciprocal relationships. I'm very big on that as well. And you should always go into conversations asking, how can I help you as well? So it should be a reciprocal relationship. And being able to not be afraid to collaborate. A lot of us, some people are afraid to collaborate. And miss a lot of opportunities that way. And we should stop, being afraid of trying to compete and get there faster, but we have to be open to that. So I think that's a lot of people miss, that next level because they're afraid to collaborate and they're afraid to build those genuine relationships. But, we need each other in order to get there. And if your dream is just you by yourself, then it's not going to go for so far. So we need each other in order to get there. So that's what I would say about, just stepping out there and building those relationships and being able to collaborate. That's a big part of it.
And I love that piece. I know that when it comes to the ones that we see that have made it to the higher level up, you know, that we're trying to achieve, a lot of us coming in, you know, had that idea, oh my goodness, I would love to be on stage with Lisa Nichols. I would love to be on stage with Les Brown. And I would love to be able to say I made as many book sales as Lewis Howes. And great, those things are amazing. So what are you going to do? Who are you going to connect with? Who are you going to serve in order to get yourself to that position?
Absolutely. You have to be a good servant first. That's key. That's key.
Yes, service is so important. And it comes to speaking, I think so many people think that we're just supposed to jump on stage and make $1 million. No, it doesn't work that way. I have to serve. And when I serve, I have to serve in such a way where I'm not serving for something in return, because I never know what the return on that investment will be. I'm serving just because I want to see that person successful.
Right. Love that.
So that part is really important as well. Now, I always ask people the question, and we have this conversation often, you know, when it comes to fear, we know that literally public speaking is the number one fear. It's literally, people fear public speaking more than they fear spiders. Y'all know I don't like spiders. Anybody in the studio? Y'all know I don't do spiders. But fear of speaking literally beats out fear of death. It beats out, you know, fear of clowns, fear of, now there's some really strange ones out there. So that being said, it beats out all of those as the number one fear. And I think it's because they kind of, you know, just push everything together. You know, when it comes to fear, it's not necessarily the fear of speaking, but people have like the fear of tripping on stage, the fear of forgetting their information. Yes. So have you had any of those fears, you know, actually manifest, you know, when you were at an event where you might have forgot something, or you tripped on stage, or you spilled something all over your clothes? Have you had any of those fears manifest, and what did you do in response to that?
Well, nobody's going to know that you messed up. Like if you forget something on stage, or you forget a part of your sentence, nobody's going to know but you. So if you mess up, then continue on. You know, don't bring attention to yourself. Continue on, because nobody knows your speech but you. You know, if you trip, keep walking. You know, it's all a part. Nobody's going to, don't put the attention on yourself. Just keep doing it. You know, nobody's perfect. And the more we get in front of audiences, whether it's 2 people, whether it's 100, whether it's thousands, the better off we're going to be. And like you stated, public speaking is the number one of the number one fears. Yes, it is. But we're not going to be able to get better until we continue to practice and always remain a student. I always tell people that. Remain a student in everything that you do, because there's always room for us to learn.
I think that's a really great piece, is that there's always room for us to learn. And I think there's been this great divide. Where we have the ones who learn, you know, the original model of what it is to be a professional speaker or a paid speaker. And now with the turn of technology and the inclusion of so many different options and opportunities, they've kind of, it's you know, this whole other group that's saying, well, that was good then, but now we have some other options. And so we're kind of, you know, divided in the middle, or split down the middle of, okay, what does it really take to be that successful speaker? And I think that adds to the fear sometimes as well. What do you think?
Well, just investing in yourself too, and investing in getting better, you know, investing in those conferences, investing in those trainings, you know, from people that are where you're trying to go. And that's what I tell people. Make sure you're getting those mentors, those coaches, those trainers, they are where you're trying to go. Because if they're not, how can they lead you? How can they help you? So just being mindful of that as well, and investing in yourself. That's the key.
Definitely. So I always ask everyone who comes onto the platform this question. I say, you know, now we know it does not always go right. Sometimes it goes left. And so in literally the time that you have been speaking and publishing the books, because we know that you got a couple of them published, listen, has there been any blunders where you look back and you go, oh man, maybe I shouldn't have did that one right there?
Well, I've had, I think we all have, like you said, we all have those moments, right? So I remember years, and I'm like, I didn't feel like I best, So I think we all have those moments. But I'm like, you know what? The more we get, the more I do it, the more I sell books, the more I speak at events, the more I do tours, the better I'm gonna be, right? So I just learned to embrace that. And I mean, that's what I tell people. Like, if you feel like you're you're not doing good enough, or you have that fear, or maybe what do they think, or all of that, just embrace that, and embrace knowing that you're dusting yourself off and you're gonna do it better next time, and just learning from it. So that's what I do. I've learned to learn from that, embrace those things, and not look at those things as a bad thing. They're all lessons to be better the next time.
I do definitely understand that one. I've had some moments where I go, okay, I can tell you that one of mine has been, you don't buy an outfit right before an event. And not try it on. You don't do that. That's a no-no.
Yeah.
Lesson learned.
I've been on panels where I'm like, okay, wow, why didn't I say that? Or man, I had more to say there, after it's over. So you definitely have those moments, but you're like, you know what? I'm just going to do it better next time. Nobody knew, though, because like I stated, when you're speaking, nobody knows but you. Nobody knows but you.
And I think that's the key element right there, is that literally we put so much stress on ourselves when it comes to speaking. Yes. That, we think that everybody knows our notes. We think that they've read our index cards, and they're in our laptop. Like, we got super sleuths that are in our laptop. They're in our phone notes, and they know everything that we were supposed to say. The reality is they don't know anything that you were supposed to say. Maybe they know the title.
They don't.
But
that's about it. That's it.
But that's it. Yes. They know the title. And, I tell people that's what makes it such an industry where you can be your own individual person. You don't have to follow a script. You don't have to have notes. Right. You don't have to do those things, because there's no model per se on how every speech needs to be. Because it's going to be dependent upon what audience you're in front of. Because a speech that you deliver at a college level is going to be completely different than the speech that you deliver at a high school level.
Absolutely. Totally different.
They're going to perceive it differently. The engagement is going to be different. The mindset, the attention span. Can we just talk about that?
It's going to be totally different. Totally. You might have to be a little bit more interactive and more in one than the other. Absolutely. You have to switch it up as you go. It is why it's important for us to know our audience. We have to know our audience.
And it's great because you can switch it up. I think that's, for me, I'm not a person that, I don't know about you, but I know for me, fear-wise, I could not write out notes to save my life. Like, have actual notes to read from when doing a speech. I could not do it ever, never, because that adds to my anxiety. That adds to my fear that I'm going to misread something, and then I'm going to be sounding like mumble mouths at the podium. That's not going to work. So I had to teach myself little things, ways to remember my speech, and have, different key elements and key points that I was going to speak about, as opposed to trying to read something. Because reading, even though I can read to myself, trying to read while you're trying to engage the audience, for me, it never worked.
Right, and you want it personal anyway. You know, you want to be able to relate to your audience.
Oh, I think we lost you for a little bit. Uh-oh, I think we lost you for a little bit. That's okay. I'll let you come back in, or let your signal come back together, and then I'll have you repeat your answer, your response.
Okay. Reference back, but reading from the notes, it's not you want it.
Okay, I think we're losing Ashley. Not sure if it's her signal where she may be, but yes, I had to agree, guys. No mumble mouth, you guys know. So for me, that was a huge thing, is that I could not write notes. And I used to see people go up to a podium with like pages of notes and just read almost word for word. And then they would look up to see if everybody was still paying attention, or that they still had the rooms, view. And I just could not do that. It just made me feel like I was just going to read something wrong. Or, you know what the other thing was for me? Imagine reading something and you seeing one thing and reading one word and it's actually a different word. And completely like mutilating your own speech and butchering your own speech because you said the wrong word. And I literally, like, that part, I couldn't do it. So I had to do my own little method of creating a clear-cut way for me to be able to present, because I know fear for me and I know fear for other people may be different. But man, when you come up with those little things to help you get past it, you hold on tight to those things. And that has definitely, in my speaking career, been one of the things that I've really held on tight to, because I know which way it could go. I know that it could go, to a whole nother level, and I'd not be able to, function properly when it comes to the speech. So I definitely had to make some adjustments sometimes. But yeah, you may still have an event where they may want you to have notes. I get it. I understand. But you have to do what's going to be, what's going to work the best for you. You never put yourself into a situation where you could potentially set yourself up for failure. That part. So Ashley is back. Welcome back, Ashley.
I am technical difficulties. Yes.
And so we were talking about, some of the things with fear, and I talked about me not being able to write notes and reading from notes. Right. I think that would really add to my fear. And I think that adds to a lot of people's fear initially, because they're thinking, I have to read this. And it goes back, I guess it goes back to reading in front of the classroom.
Right.
Like, or maybe that's just me. I have a flashback to elementary school. So for you, when it comes to the fear piece of speaking, or even with writing the book, when you look back on it now, is there something that you look back on now and you're able to say, you know what? It seemed like it was a big fear before I got started, but once I got started, it didn't even seem that big anymore.
Absolutely. So when writing Dear Fear, my first book, I'm a private person. And so being able to share my story, I did have some fears at first. Because, I'm like, okay, all right, Ashley, what if I can just check, help one person, I'll be fine. And being able to, so as I started writing my, chapter, because it's called Different, You Can't Have My Power, it was a relief, and it felt good. And I was able to share my story, different fears that I've had and how I've endured it and how I've pushed through. And it was so many people that have read my book and still are reading my book that have been able to relate or have stated that I've helped them through some things that they're going through right now. So I'm just thankful that, that I was able to share my story, that I was able to touch lives, men and women all over the world. And yes, when I first started, yes, I had some fears, but I was just like, I have a story to tell and I'm going to do this. So, and the more I wrote, the more it was the relief that came over me. And I remember my first lunch day, the book signing, our first book signing, I actually cried. It was a relief because I was sharing and being vulnerable with the world of some of the things that I went through in my life, in different obstacles and challenges that I had to overcome to get where I gotten in life. And I think a lot of people look at, the end result and our accomplishments. They don't understand that we all have a process.
I definitely have to agree with you there, because I know that first book, that first time sharing your message.
We have to embrace the journey, but we also have to embrace the process.
It's a beautiful experience. It's a freeing experience. That first time sharing that message, sharing that oh my goodness. And that one, and the first time that somebody says thank you. And I know some of you are going to listen to this episode and say, what? I mean, people say thank you all the time. Altavis, Unicorn, The Voice Coach, people say thank you to you all the time. I'm sure of it. No, you don't understand. My kids say thank you most times. People say thank you for holding open a door. They say thank you for getting them a gift. But when someone says thank you for not holding back what you've been through, thank you for sharing it. Thank you for being transparent. Thank you for putting it in a book or talking about it on stage. When somebody says thank you to that, that's a whole other level of emotion that most people don't even realize will happen until that first time. They will not even realize that that's what will happen until that first time. And when it happens, oh my goodness, you feel like everything has completely shifted. That's like one of the driving forces for you wanting to go and be able to, do some other phenomenal things and create and, talk on more stages and reach more people. And you're just like, I want to do more. Guess what? When you get that thank you, it pushes you to want to do more. It pushes you past the fear of, because can I tell you something? Can I be honest? Is that literally when you're doing, as a speaker, when you go and you speak on stages, the more you do, the higher up you go, the more fear you will come in contact with. There will be other things that you don't necessarily understand or weren't necessarily taught and told and talked to about when it comes to you being the speaker. There will be other things that, will come. There will be trials and tribulations. Listen, the journey of being the successful speaker, there will be things that people do to you that will cause you to fear going into a higher level. But the reality is that every time you get someone that says, it's because of your message, it's because of your story that I came out of this. It's because of your message, it's because of your story that I was able to do this. And you're able to go back and look at that and say, wow, okay, if that helped one person, wow, look at the success from me helping that one person. If it helped two people, oh my goodness, look at what those two people can do in the world. You guys know that with me launching the World Voice Summit, that has been my heart. That has been my heart, is to be able to create that social change, because there are people all over the world that, you know, they need that encouragement. They need that support. And not everybody's going to follow with me. Not everybody's going to think it's an important goal. Not everybody is going to care. And that's okay. But I had to understand that there was going to be another level of fear that came with this. And that fear was, it was knocking, guys. This whole month, that fear has been knocking. It's been knocking at that door. But I didn't even answer it. I didn't even entertain it. I just kept moving forward. And in moving forward, out of 80-something speakers, we already have 50 speakers in place for this summit in February. You got to push past the fear. Sometimes it's just getting started. Sometimes it's just making the right phone call. Sometimes it's just making a phone call. Like, it doesn't even have to be perfect, but just making a phone call.
Right.
So I love that piece of it. So I want you to let everybody know, Ashley, how they can get in contact with you, where they can find you on social media, and how they can find your books as well.
Well, you all can follow me on Facebook at Ashley Little, on Instagram at _Ashley A Little. And if you would like to purchase signed copies of my book, you may reach out to me on Facebook or Instagram. And you also can go to Amazon to purchase, or www.dearfearbook.com.
Great. And I thank you so much for being a guest with us on the Speakeasy podcast today. I love this topic simply because I know what I've had to fight through when it comes to fear and, you know, getting to the level where I am and then moving on to even bigger and better things. But guys, this is your time. I know this is like the rev up period for most people. This is the moment where people are like really getting geared up for 2019. But guess what? Make sure that you have a way to take care of that fear. Make sure that you have a way to knock that fear out anytime it shows its ugly little head when it comes to you achieving your goals and your dreams. Guys, because I can tell you, one of the other pieces of it for me was that I knew my kids were watching. And so if I knocked out my fear, then it made them knock out their fear too. So that part really stuck out for me. And so listening to them talk about traveling the world and you know, going and being in Korea for a year so they can teach English and, you know, different things like that, that stands out for me. But if I would have never pushed past that fear and done something that I thought was great, then they wouldn't have had that same influence to do what they believe is great as well. Listen, we got things to do. We got people following us. So it's time for us to make some changes. So guys, I am looking forward to seeing you guys. Those of you that will be attending the World Voice Summit in February, guys, oh my goodness, 50 plus speakers already confirmed. Another 30 well on the way to confirming. We're excited, super excited. 80 plus speakers for the month of February, coming to empower, educate, and impact you to be able to utilize your voice and do it in such a way that you're having fun and living the best life while doing it. Don't forget, go over to bit.ly/World Voice Summit for you to get more information. The tickets are free for the summit. So we just want you to come and glean and get the information you need. Replays are $97 before February and $197 after February 1st. With that being said, again, don't forget, we want to make sure that you have your voice heard. We're on the Speak Easy podcast. If you are a speaker or an author, I would love to have you on as a guest. Go to bit.ly/Speak Easy podcast, all lowercase, to choose your date for you to be able to be a speaker, a guest here on the show. With that being said as well, I love you guys, because without any you, there would be no me, the host, out to these colors, the voice coach, professional speaker, certified life coach, Amazon bestselling author, and podcaster. And guys, until next time, don't forget to press it out. See ya.